एक ओंकार सतगुरु प्रसाद। धन गुरु नानक साहिब जीओ, मिट्टी धुंध जग चानण होया। वाह गुरु जी, मैं तुहाडी की वडियाई करा। एक निमाणा इंसान तुहाडी की वडियाई कर सकता है। सच्चे पातशाह वाहिगुरु जी, भुल्लां नूं बख्शाओ, सच्ची भक्ति दा दान दिओ। मेरे दाता, मेरा तुहाडे बिना कोई नहीं। वाहिगुरु जी, मेरा तुहाडे बिना कोई नहीं। इस बच्चे ते मेहर करो मेरे दाता, इस बच्चे ते मेहर करो। एक ओंकार सतगुरु प्रसाद। मिट्टी धुंध जग चानण होया, मिट्टी धुंध जग चानण होया, मिट्टी धुंध जग चानण होया, मिट्टी धुंध जग चानण होया। हे मेरे सच्चे पातशाह, मेहर करना, मेहर करना, तरस करना, अपनी कृपा इस बच्चे ते बनाई रखना। एक ओंकार सतगुरु प्रसाद। बोले सोनिहाल। सत श्री अकाल, सत श्री अकाल। The life of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. The voice Guru Nanak Dev Ji's life starts in the year 1469. The incarnation of God came into this world. The spiritual power with the name of Guru Nanak Dev Ji was born in 1469 at Talwandi, a famous village situated in the Shekhupura district, which stands for 65 kilometers, that is west of Lahore, which at present belongs to Pakistan. His father was village official in the local revenue administration. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji was a boy, he learned besides the regional languages Arabic and Persian also. He got married in 1487 and was blessed with 2 sons. His first son was born in year 1491 and second one took birth subsequently in 1496. In 1485, he took up at the instan of his brother-in-law the appointment of an official in charge of the stores of Daulat Khan Lodi, the Muslim ruler of the area at Sultanpur. It is there that he came into contact with Mardana, a Muslim minstrel Mirasi who was senior in age. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji was 12 years old, his father gave him 20 rupees and asked him to do a business, apparently to teach him business. Guru Nanak Dev Ji bought food for all the money and distributed among saints and poor. When his father asked him what happened to business, he replied that he had done a true business at the place where Guru Nanak Dev had fed the poor. This Gurdwara was made and named Sacha Soda. At one time, he preferred to dine at the place of a low-caste artisan by Lalu, instead of accepting the invitation of a high-caste rich landlord, Malik Bhago, because the latter lived by exploitation of the poor and the former earned his bread by the sweat of his brow. This incident has been depicted by a symbolic representation of the reason for his preference Sri Guru Nanak pressed in one hand the coarse loaf of bread from Lalu's hut and in the other the food from Bhago's house. Milk gushed forth from the loaf of Lalu's and blood from the delicacies of Bhago. This prescription for honest work and living and the condemnation of exploitation. He was comparatively a newcomer to the fold, and yet he was chosen in preference to the Guru's own son, Sri Chand, who also had the reputation of being a wise person, and Baba Buddha, a devout Sikh of long standing, who during his own lifetime had the distinction of ceremonially installing all subsequent gurus. All these facts indicate that Guru Nanak had a clear plan and vision that his mission was to be continued as an independent and trickstic spiritual system on the lines laid down by him, and that in context of the country there was a clear need for the organization of such a spiritual mission and society. In his own lifetime, he is distinctly determined its direction and laid the foundations of some of the new religious institutions. Guru Nanak's gospel was all for men. He proclaimed their equality in all respects. In his system, the householder's life became the primary forum of religious activity. Human life was not a burden but a privilege. On reaching Kartarpur, after his tours, the Guru sent for the members of his family and lived there with them for the remaining 18 years of his life. For the same reason, his followers all over the country were not recluses. They were ordinary men living at their own homes and pursuing their normal vocation. The Guru's system involved morning and evening prayers. Congregational gatherings of the local followers were also held at their respective dharmshalas. After he returned to Kartarpur, Guru Nanak did not rest. He straightway took up the work as a cultivator of land without interrupting his divorces, without interrupting his discourses, without interrupting his discourses and morning and evening prayers. It is very significant that throughout the later 18 years of his mission, he continued to work as a peasant. It was a total involvement in the moral and productive life of the community. His life was a model for others to follow. Like him, all his disciples were regular workers who had not given up their normal vocations. Even while he was performing the important duties of organizing a new religion, he never shirked the full-time duties of a small cultivator. By his personal example, he showed that the leading of a normal man's working life was fundamental to his spiritual system. Even a seemingly small departure from his basic tenet would have been misunderstood or misconstrued both by his own followers and others. In the Guru's system, idleness became a vice and engagement in productive and constructive work a virtue. It was Guru Nanak who chastised aesthetics as idlers and condemned their practice of begging for food at the doors of householders. The greatest departure Guru Nanak made was to prescribe for the religious man the responsibility of confronting evil and oppression. It was he who said that God destroys the evil doers and the demonical, and that such being God's nature and will. It is man's goal to carry out that will. Since there are evil doors in life, it is the spiritual duty of the seeker and his society to resist evil and injustice. Again, it is Guru Nanak who protests and complains that Babur had been committing tyranny against the weak and the innocent. The Guru expressed all his teachings in Panjabi, the spokesman language of northern India. It was a clear indication of his desire not to address the elite alone, but the masses as well. It is recorded that the Sikhs had no regard for Sanskrit, which was the sole spiritual language of the Hindus. Both these facts lead to important inferences. They reiterate that Guru's message was for all. It was not for the few who, because of their personal aptitude, should feel drawn to a life of so-called spiritual meditation and contemplation. Nor was it an exclusive spiritual system divorced from the normal life. In contrast, in the Guru system, the world became the arena of spiritual endeavor. A normal life and moral and righteous deeds became the fundamental means of spiritual progress. Since these alone were approved by God, man was free to choose between the good and the bad and shape his own future by choosing virtue and fighting evil. The life of Guru Nanak shows that the only interpretation of his theses and doctrines could be the one which we have accepted. He expressed his doctrines through the medium of activities. He himself laid the firm foundations of institutions and trends which flowered and fructified later on. As we do not find a trace of those ideas and institutions in the religious milieu of time or the religious history of the country, the entirely original and new character of his spiritual system could have only been mystically and prophetically inspired. Apart from the continuation, consolidation, and expansion of Guru Nanak's mission, the account that follows seeks to present the major contributions made by the remaining Gurus.